नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथकृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तोऽस्ति भद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Okay, so in the previous sessions, we were focused on the third chapter of the first canto, and the purpose of the third chapter is very significant. So we have been having, I think this is the fourth session on the third chapter. We intend to do chapter summaries, but then we also want to acknowledge the importance of certain chapters. And as a consequence, we want to delve deeper into some aspects of Srimad Bhagavatam. Some chapters hold key information which is foundational and which we need to fully understand and comprehend. So the point we just want to make is that the third chapter, the attempt to conclude the third chapter is going to be done today. We have been at it for a few weeks now. Now, the third chapter very specifically has the verse 1.3.28, and 1.3.28 is the Paribhasha Sutra, or the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It establishes Kṛṣṇa as the origin of all avatars. He's the avatari. He is the origin of all avatars. And it also gives very detailed information as to why he should be considered as the, I would say the origin of all avatars. So there's a lot of information which is being given in 1.3.28. Now, before we go into 1.3.28, we also need to understand, again, refresh ourselves as to the purpose for the Bhagavatam to contain information about Krishna's transcendental pastimes. In other words, there are so many different manifestations of Krishna. And why is it that the Srimad Bhagavatam is giving us information on so many avatars? Why couldn't it have focused on just the 10th canto, which is Krishna himself? Srila Prabhupada, when he was translating Srimad Bhagavatam and when he was setting up the purports for Srimad Bhagavatam, his original plan was that he would take 50% of the time for rest of the cantos, and then he would use 50% for just the 10th canto. In other words, he was going to spend 50% of his time just on the 10th canto. The expectation was going to be far more elaborate in terms of what the purports were and so on. And to give great focus and importance to the 10th canto, he wanted to basically focus 50% of his time in translating the 10th canto and 50% towards the rest of the cantos. Basically, the point which we're trying to make here is, even though such importance has been given to the 10th canto and Krishna himself, there's also a reason for Krishna to give us the information which we seek in the first 9 cantos. It's preparatory. We are preparing to understand Krishna. Before we understand Krishna in his absolute form, which is the summum bonum, the absolute truth, we also need to understand and progress steadily in understanding his opulences. We need to understand the formal structure of Krishna's pastimes before we get into understanding him as a person. Because when we get into the 10th canto, there are interpersonal relationships with the devotees, and that's the focus of the 10th canto. For large part, it is focusing on interpersonal relationships which fall into the 4 different categories of rasa or mellows. It falls into dasya, it falls into sakya, and vatsalya and madhurya. So since the focus is so much on interpersonal relationships, one could also have a very mundane view at times in understanding the 10th canto, which is also true. A lot of authors have taken very mundane references of the 10th canto simply because they are directly approaching the 10th canto without establishing Krishna's supremacy as the origin of every other avatar. And there is a certain risk there. And that risk is being eliminated when we follow a certain sequence, when we approach the 10th canto after reading the first 9 cantos. But even before that, I've spoken about this before, and I would also like to bring this up again. We need to again revisit the purpose of reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Why is it that we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam? What is it which is being accomplished? This is being given to us in the Bhagavad Gita. It is being given to us in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's being spoken of by Kṛṣṇa. So the Bhagavad Gita is basically setting the stage for us to understand the Bhagavatam. It's critical for us to understand the Bhagavatam through Bhagavad Gita. So we first need to approach the Bhagavad Gita. 4.9 of the Bhagavad Gita, it's a very famous verse. What does it say? It says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tektva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. Janma karma chame divyam. He's saying, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. This statement by Kṛṣṇa, 4.9, he is talking about understanding his transcendental nature of his appearance and activities. Now, can everybody put yourself on mute, please? So how do we understand Kṛṣṇa's transcendental nature? How do we understand Kṛṣṇa's transcendental nature from 4.9? What does he say? He says, if you understand my transcendental nature, then you will return back to my abode. You will come back to Vrindavan.
Not important.
Now, Haribol, sorry, I think the people need to go on mute. Perhaps someone's phone does not have a mute. If you could identify yourself, which that is, and then you could mute yourself, please. So Kṛṣṇa wants us to basically understand his appearance and his activities. How do we understand his activities? How do we understand his divine nature? The whole program of sadhana bhakti is for us to walk according to the steps described in this verse of Bhagavad Gita. 4.9 says you have to understand my transcendental nature. The whole purpose and the whole definition of sadhana bhakti, the whole process of devotional service, is practically anchored on this verse. How are we accomplishing this objective? How are we accomplishing the objective of understanding his transcendental nature? How do we accomplish the objective of Janma Karma Chame Divyam? Janma Karma Chame Divyam is given by Kṛṣṇa in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where he's saying very clearly that you need to understand the transcendental nature of my activities. How exactly do we understand it? What is the way to understand the transcendental nature of the activities of the Lord? Feel free to share your answers. It does not matter if it doesn't fall in place. Please feel free.
Haribol Prabhuji.
Haribol?
Yeah, by reading Vedas like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam.
Okay, reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, that's one response. Yes. What else? What else? Please remember, these principles are foundational. If you don't remind yourself of these principles on a daily basis, yeah, it will be difficult. Yes,
by the mercy of Kṛṣṇa and Guru?
Yes, the mercy of Kṛṣṇa and Guru, but how do you get the mercy of Kṛṣṇa and Guru? How does Kṛṣṇa attract us? Anybody? How does Kṛṣṇa attract us?
Hare Krishna.
Sorry?
Prabhu, Padmavati Devdasi, by rendering service.
By rendering service.
Yeah.
Okay, by rendering. Sorry.
Yeah. It's Krishnavani Mataji. Prabhuji, according, through his activities, by his Leela, we can also.
But how do you come in touch with his activities? How do you establish and how do you come closer to 4.9? The definition of 4.9, he says.
By inquiring. It's a
Sorry?
inquiring. By inquiring.
By submissively inquiring. Okay, this is again, someone prior to this made a statement. What did you say? Someone prior to this said by basically reading Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, you come in touch with Leela. Someone else said by getting the mercy of Krishna. Then I questioned and I asked very clearly, how do we get the mercy of Krishna? How exactly do we come, and how does Krishna attract us? And then now you're answering, saying basically that by serving. Whom do you serve and what do you know? How would you know what to do?
By serving devotees.
Yes, by serving devotees. Okay, so now we get an answer. See, the point is very simple. Krishna attracts us through two means, primarily two means. Krishna's attraction occurs through two primary means. One of them is through Harinam, and the other is through devotees who are gurus. So Siksha and Diksha gurus and Harinam, these are the ways for Krishna to attract us to his service. When Krishna starts attracting us, and we come closer to Krishna by hearing and chanting of Harinam, we also come closer to Krishna by being attracted to the Swarup or the Rupa or the personality of the Guru. The Guru can attract us. Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru, Shastra doesn't distinguish the two. It's on the same platform because both are being used by Krishna to attract us. Both principles of Guru Tattva, Siksha and Diksha. One who is giving us Siksha is one who is inspiring us to chant better, inspiring us to read better, inspiring us to serve better, and to developing an interest in the Dham. These are activities of inspiration that are being given by the Siksha Guru. The Siksha Guru is attracting because Krishna chooses to attract through such a person. So when we get attracted to Krishna by hearing classes, then Krishna is using such a person to attract us because this is Krishna's way of attracting us. Prabhupada, when he first came to Tompkins Park, he chanted in Tompkins Park in America. He just took kartals and he started chanting. So he started attracting by chanting Harinam. The broadcast of a pure soul, it will reach different corners of the universe. So when Srila Prabhupada sat in Tompkins Park, he was a Premi Bhakta, he was a pure devotee, he was in love with Krishna. His calling of Krishna and Krishna's holy names, it had no obstacles whatsoever because it was untinged in terms of any material objective. It practically reached the different corners of this universe and attracted different souls. So in other words, when we chant pure name, it has the ability to immediately give Krishna to others. And it cannot be stopped. When we chant pure name, it cannot be stopped. It traverses, it's very potent. And the objectives of the chanter also are carried in the name. So when Srila Prabhupada started broadcasting the message of Srimad Bhagavatam through his books, he only wrote initially, there were only three, I think the first canto was written, 3 volumes. And he started doing kirtan. He immediately attracted souls from all over the universe in such quick progression over a matter of 10 years that different parts of the world, there were temples established. Why was this so? Because Krishna was using Prabhupada to attract souls. So Krishna uses sadhus and they attract us by Siksha. Krishna uses sadhus, they attract us by Nam. Krishna attracts us through his name and he attracts us through Siksha. Please understand that both are critical to know. Now, understanding that Krishna is attracting us, the first principle of understanding his divine nature is to come in touch with those who are familiar with his divine nature and who have deep faith in this divine nature. So 4.9 Bhagavad Gita, when it talks about coming in touch with Krishna's potencies and his divinity, it talks about coming in touch with those who are faithful in terms of understanding his divinity, coming in touch with those and being attracted to Nam. Now, coming in touch with those who are glorifying Krishna through kirtan, coming in touch with those who are glorifying Krishna through katha. This is the first principle of attraction. Now, once we come in touch with those personalities, we then develop a taste for Nam, and then we chant. This is the second way which Shastra tells us where we can come in touch with Krishna to understand his divine nature. When you absorb yourself in name of Krishna, when you absorb yourself in Nama, this Nama is like a lotus which is closed. The lotus is closed. Depending on the sincerity of the person, the lotus starts opening and starts revealing Rupa, Guna, and Leela. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela is revealed by first coming in touch with Nama. You come in touch with Nama first. When you come in touch with Nama, Nama starts unfolding and starts revealing our nature. It starts revealing Krishna's nature. So basically, Krishna's divinity given in 4.9 saying, you need to come in touch with me through Tattva, means you come in touch with him through Nama, through sadhus who are chanting Nama, and through Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and through the deity form. And then we also come in touch when we visit Dham. So the 5 main principles of devotional service of coming in touch with a sadhu, engaging in Nama Smaran, Nama Kirtan, and then also reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and also being able to come in touch with Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Mayapur Dham, serving the deities. These are 5 principal methods of coming in touch with Krishna. When Krishna says that you will need to understand me through Tattva, he is practically saying, you need to understand me through absolute reality. The absolute reality of the Supreme Lord is established by Srimad Bhagavatam. When you come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the personality of Krishna. It is himself. So when you come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam, you are in touch with Krishna. When you are chanting, you are in touch with Krishna. When you are in touch with those who have deep faith, you are in touch with Krishna. Now, when you are coming in touch with Krishna through Tattva, which is absolute truth, where his relationships come forth, then at that point in time, our relationship also has a potential to develop. Relationships require that we first come in touch with him through Guru, and then the Guru reveals the relationship by giving us mercy. So we chant, and the chanting and the Nama, and the Nama, basically the chanting of the holy names, reveals everything to us. So the point we want to make here is that 4.9 Bhagavad Gita is establishing Krishna's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela point of saying that you need to understand my divinity, you need to understand the transcendental nature of my pastimes, you have to understand it through Tattva. Tattva is first coming in touch with those who have understood it in reality. What is Tattva? Tattva is absolute truth. Srimad Bhagavatam distinguishes itself. It distinguishes itself in the sense that it is completely focused on delivering Krishna to us. It has no other objective. Srimad Bhagavatam has no other objective than bringing us in touch with Krishna. No other objective. The other Puranas have objectives of satisfying certain material needs. They have directions of achieving other objectives in life. Srimad Bhagavatam practically dismisses all the other objectives and goes directly to the supreme objective of coming in touch with Krishna. Whilst along the way, you can pick up so many different principles. There is something in Srimad Bhagavatam for everybody, but to basically not focus on the goal of wanting to attain prema and wanting to chant prema nama, that would be basically giving up the ultimate goal, or I would say the greatest gift, which is most unattainable gift, for something which is lesser or in nature. So the point we want to make is Srimad Bhagavatam is establishing itself based on 4.9, where Krishna says you need to come in touch with me through my divinity, and you need to understand my transcendental nature, the Tattva. Srimad Bhagavatam is bringing us closer in touch. So we need to understand how. The how is the 5 main principles of devotional service, where we get attracted by a sadhu. Some of us get attracted by a sadhu. They can be Siksha, Diksha Gurus. One of the Siksha Gurus eventually becomes a Diksha Guru, and this is how it progresses. We have spoken about it before. Then Nama, then Srimad Bhagavatam, then Dham, then deities. These are 5. If you observe a program in ISKCON, or whatever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us, if you observe a program acutely, you will notice that these are the 5 main principles that are being adhered to. They are trying very closely to bring us to these 5 main principles so that we can have maximum likelihood of coming in touch with Krishna quite profoundly and understanding his divine nature. And which is what we are trying to do. We are basically trying to understand his divine nature. Janma karma chame divyam. We want to understand his pastimes. We want to understand his divinity, his transcendental nature of the pastimes. To understand the transcendental nature, we need to go through Tattva. That Tattva is Srimad Bhagavatam. Tattva means absolute truth. And we need to go in a very step-by-step manner, because we first need to understand and have a formal introduction to Krishna. And then as we have a formal introduction to Krishna, we then get closer and closer, and then that formality is dropped when we reach advanced stages of devotional service. Just like, for example, one starts with Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti is to worship Krishna with strict regulations, rules, etc., as given by Vidhi, as given by the scripture. And then there is Raga Marga, where you're attracted to Krishna's pastimes purely based on your relationship with Krishna. So there is a spontaneity, there's a certain greed of wanting to know Krishna more, and that greed prompts one to go after Krishna without any consideration, because they want this particular emotion, their sentiments to come forth, which are grounded in scripture, not without grounding in scripture. This is not something to be imitated, but without that particular spontaneity, then you are not experiencing what is required. As a consequence, one should be eager to go higher and higher in devotional service. How do you achieve such spontaneity? Again, the following principles of 5 main principles of bhakti. How do you achieve Raga Marga? You achieve Raganuga Bhakti by coming in touch with those who are greedy. Only one who is very greedy and wanting to know Krishna can bestow upon us the greed to know him more. So you need to again come in touch with the sadhu. You again need to come in touch with Nam, because you will be chanting Nam with great greed, with love. You will be chanting Nam not so much because you're asked to chant 16 rounds with, as a regulative aspect, saying, I need to chant 16 rounds because my spiritual master has ordered me so. You will be chanting 16 rounds, 32 rounds, 64 rounds, or even higher, jumping out of your bed very early in the morning, because it's absolutely, it's an experience which is extraordinarily, overwhelmingly pleasure-giving. It's divine, it's blissful. So what I'm trying to say is, regardless of how we need to come in touch with Krishna, the path is the same. You need to come in touch with a sadhu who gives you mercy, who gives you the ability to chant. You again need to come in touch with those, because of the mercy of Sadhu Guru, with those who are greedy. And as a consequence, we also develop such greed. Again, we need to have a greed to come in Vrindavan. One who visits Vrindavan first because they need to visit Vrindavan with a mood of caution, because it's the holy dham. Then we visit Vrindavan with the mood of having a certain level of attachment. All of this is progression. The point which you're trying to make is the 5 main principles of devotional service, of coming in touch with the sadhu, basically being able to chant, basically being able to read Srimad Bhagavatam and worship the deity and wanting to be in Vrindavan. This is progressively developing, and it is not different. In each and every stage, you have helpers, and it progressively develops. You experience everything through Nam. You experience through Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is progressive. Same Bhagavatam, few years down the line, after we have developed deeper taste for Krishna consciousness, will reveal a lot more. It will reveal a lot more in terms of information and experiences. So what we are trying to do is have an understanding. We are coming in touch with Krishna. This is a primary aspect of how we can go deeper and understand him. Krishna says this in 4.9. So 4.9 is guiding us, saying you need to understand my transcendental appearance. You need to understand my activities. So where would we go to understand his activities? We will go to Srimad Bhagavatam. We will go to a sadhu. We will go to Harinam. We will go to Vrindavan. And we will also be approaching the deity form. So all of this is very much in line with trying to come closer to Krishna based on 4.9. And he says, if you understand it, then you're not going to come back. Once you come in touch with my transcendental nature, if you understand it, how does one understand something? Is that a theoretical experience? How does one understand anything? What is an understanding? Isn't it also progressive when we use the word understanding?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, by practical knowledge.
Exactly, by coming in touch with direct experiences, yes. Yes, because by direct experience, one understands. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry, Prabhu. I was just trying.
Sorry? Mataji wanted to complete something? Okay. So basically, we are trying to come in touch with Krishna according to 4.9, and Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. So now let's go back to the previous week's session where we want to conclude the 3rd chapter. The previous week's session, we stopped at verse 16, 1.3.16. I'm going to conclude third chapter today, and I'm just going to start here. Sura Asuranam Uddadim Matnatam Mandarachalam Dadre Kamatarupena Prishte Ekadase Vibuhu. The 11th incarnation of the Lord took the form of a tortoise whose shell served as a pivot for the Mandarachala hill, which was being used as a churning rod by the theists and the atheists of the universe. So this is the description of Lord Kṛṣṇa. When he appears as Lord Kṛṣṇa, I mentioned this, those of us basically, if we chant the names of Lord Kṛṣṇa, or rather understand the activities of Lord Kṛṣṇa, we would also understand the particular primary nature of being completely selfless and supportive of others and facilitating others. Yeah, this is the facilitation. This is exactly what the definition of Karma Yoga is in the Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga is being defined as activity where there is no expectation of results. It is being done with no expectations for results. It is being done as a mode of service. So this particular aspect of Karma Yoga is being displayed in the Kurma avatar as well. The Kurma avatar of the Lord practically takes on the burden of karmic reactions of the entire universe when the Asuras and the Devas are churning and they are engaging in the activity of producing goods, by churning the ocean of milk. At that point in time, the Lord takes on the karmic reactions of everybody. He's basically saying, let me bear the burden of your work. And when I bear the burden of your work, he is practically facilitating the activities of others. And he has nothing to do with it. He has nothing to do with it, and he is also transcendental. He has not been touched by the results. He has nothing to do with the activities, but he's supporting them. So as facilitators, he's practically infusing us to become facilitators. By facilitators, we mean ensuring that someone else is successful. And by ensuring that someone else is successful, one also falls very clearly into the category of becoming an instrument in the Lord's hands to facilitate the karma yoga of others. This is being shown here in Kurma Avatar.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, can we think of spiritual master in the same level?
In meaning he takes on the responsibility for success of others?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, because the spiritual master takes on the burden of the devotees, the burden of the disciples, so the disciples could succeed. Absolutely. The transcendental attributes of the Lord can be seen in his devotees as well. To function properly in this world, one needs to understand the Lord's activities. When one needs to understand the Lord's activities, then we start aspiring to act according to those principles. We want to walk in those footsteps in certain ways. Once we understand the essence of what took place, then life becomes very successful. Text 17. Danvantaram dwadasamam trayodasamam evacha apayayat suran anyan mohinya mohayan striya. In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari. And in the 13th incarnation, he allured the atheists by the charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink. Quite interesting, because in the 12th incarnation, he appears as Dhanvantari. You will notice that all Ayurvedic physicians of a traditional Ayurvedic school, they all chant prayers to Lord Dhanvantari. They all worship Lord Dhanvantari because the whole idea of immortality and the whole idea of rejuvenation comes from Lord Dhanvantari. He appears with the pot of nectar, with Amrit. He comes with a pot of nectar. Because he's coming with a pot of nectar, basically it is taken as the principle of rejuvenation. And it is also said that one who worships Lord Dhanvantari automatically gains immense knowledge in being able to heal others. So this principle of worshipping Lord Dhanvantari, which is being followed by traditional schools of Ayurveda, is because he carries a pot of nectar. So he appears as well. He appears during the churning of the milk ocean. And then the nectar is stolen. The stolen nectar is being retrieved by the Lord as Mohini Avatar, where he comes as a very alluring, very beautiful young woman. And then he practically distracts the Asuras, he distracts the demons, and then takes away the nectar. Yeah. So basically the point is, it's also quite interesting. When he appears as Mohini Avatar, everybody is sitting down and wanting to collect nectar. The demigods are also sitting down and they're wanting to collect nectar. And then there is this demon, Rahu, who is very intelligent. He goes and then he sits next to Chandra, the moon god. And the moon god is sitting next to Surya, the sun god. And Rahu basically receives a little bit of portion of nectar because he's very clever. He disguises himself as a demigod and he sits there. Now, what is being said is that the sun, because the principle of sight comes from Surya. See, you can't really see because all origin of light is from Surya. In one sense, from Surya, from the sun god, you get light. Without light, you can't see. So the principle of vision is from Surya. So he is the one who spots the demon, it is said. And then the moon god, because he rules the principle of the mind, travels in the speed of the mind and conveys this information and warns the devas, and the Lord appears, and the Lord basically annihilates this Rahu. He kind of prevents him from completely becoming immortal in certain ways. So the neck is severed, and then it is said that because the neck is severed, the neck is the body is received the amrit. The amrit has stopped at the level of the neck. The body is liberated. So there's a little bit of a, I would say, many I would say theories that come up due to that particular incident. But the point which we want to make here is that it's quite interesting that the amrit comes. It is an incarnation of the Lord who brings it. But that incarnation can't hold on to the pot. The pot is snatched away by the demons, which is quite interesting. And then someone else has to come to retrieve the pot. And that personality is also an incarnation of the Lord. And he comes in the form of a woman. He allures them. He basically takes the pot away. So it's quite interesting to see that there are limitations in incarnations as well. They come with a certain purpose. Dhanvantari, Lord Dhanvantari comes with the purpose where he brings Amrit. He brings knowledge of Ayurveda. He brings knowledge of all kinds of healing sciences. You have him being overpowered by the demons, and they snatch the pot of nectar. To retrieve the pot of nectar, you have another incarnation of the Lord, who comes, and then he's able to retrieve the pot of nectar. It's quite interesting to see how there are certain limitations as well. Chaturdasham Narasimham Bibra Daitendram Urjitam Dadara Karajer Urav Erakam Katakridyataha. In the 14th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Narasimha and bifurcated the strong body of the atheist Hiranyakashipu with his nails, just as a carpenter pierces cane. So this is the 14th incarnation of the Lord Narasimhadev. Text 19. Panchadasam Vamanakam Kritvagad Advaram Balehe Padatrayam Yachamanaha Pratyadistus Tripishtapam. In the 15th incarnation, the Lord assumes the form of a dwarf Brahmana. A dwarf is Vamana, and visited the arena of sacrifice arranged by Maharaj Bali. Although at heart he was willing to regain the kingdom of the 3 planetary systems, he simply asked for a donation of 3 steps of land. So here, it's quite interesting. This is the 8th canto. Lord Vamana, very particularly, he appears as a dwarf. So in one sense, he appears in a form which is deceiving. He is also asking for 3 steps of land, deception again. And if you notice the language in the 8th canto, he even praises Hiranyakashipu. Maharaj Bali is the grandson of Hiranyakashipu. So he praises Prahlad Maharaj, he also praises Hiranyakashipu. Quite interesting to see that the Supreme Lord praises the demon in that particular canto, and he poses himself as a Brahmana. In reality, he asks for 3 steps of land, while internally he has the objective of wanting to acquire all the universes. So internally there's an objective, externally there's a speech which is different. Similar. This is duplicity in one sense, isn't it? But then here, he is adopting such means to establish dharma. This is very important to understand. He is establishing dharma, where he is adopting a means which is confusing for the demons, but he's establishing dharma. And if you notice the language in the 8th canto, you will see diplomacy. You will really see diplomacy at its height, where he's praising Hiranyakashipu, and he's praising Prahlad Maharaj. In the same next couple of verses, he praises Hiranyakashipu. So it's very interesting to read the pastime of Lord Vamana in the 8th canto. Avatare Sodasame Pashyan Brahmadruho Nripan Trisaptakritva Kupito Nishatram Akaron Mahim. In the 16th incarnation of the Godhead, the Lord, as Brigupati, annihilated the administrative class, Kshatriyas, 21 times, being angry with them because of the rebellion against the Brahmanas, the intelligent class. Sri Parashuram, Lord Parashuram basically purified the lineage. It is said that Sri Parashuram purified the lineage. He kept annihilating the Kshatriyas until he was able to see demonstration of a proper lineage of Kshatriyas emerge who would be able to lead the planet. He kept annihilating them. So this is very powerful as well. This is the 16th incarnation. He is called Brigupati because he falls in the lineage of sage Brigu. Now, Tataha Saptadase Jataha Satyavatyam Parasarat Chakre Vedattaro Sakaha Drishtva Pumsolapa Medasaha. Thereafter, in the 17th incarnation of Godhead, Srila Vyasadeva appeared in the womb of Satyavati through Parashara Muni, and he divided the one Veda into several branches and sub-branches, seeing that people in general were less intelligent. Yeah, this is the appearance of Vyasadeva, who is an incarnation of the Lord. So it's quite interesting that you have Vyasadeva, who is an incarnation of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is an incarnation of the Lord. And there's so much mercy which is being provided by the Lord in different ways. It is being spoken of by our acharyas as well. Srila Vyasadeva, just as much as the Lord has parents, the Lord has parents. As Lord Rama, there is Dasharath Maharaj and there's Mother Kaushalya. Krishna, there is Yashoda Rani and Nanda Maharaj, and you also have Devaki and Vasudeva. So Krishna comes and Rama comes, they come with parents. So then the question is, who is the parent of Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam is also an incarnation of the Lord. It is said that Srila Vyasadeva performed the dual role of being a mother and a father for Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Vyasadeva is considered the parents of Srimad Bhagavatam. Naradevatvam apannah surya karya chikachaya Surakarya Chikashaya Samudra Nigraha Adini Chakre Viryayani Ataparam. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. This is the 18th incarnation. This is the 9th canto. Ekona vimsatime Vrishni ishu prapya janmani Ramakrishna iti bhuvo Bhagavan aharat baram. In the 19th and 20th incarnations, the Lord advented himself as Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni, Yadu dynasty, and by so doing, he removed the burden of the world. 24. Tata kalo sampravritte sammoaya suradvisham buddho namnanjana sutaha kikateshu bhavishyati. Then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theists. This is important. This basically, the incarnation of Lord Buddha follows the rendering of Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj and the speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam and the recording of Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's being said here that he will appear in future. Text 25. Atasho yuga sandhyayam dasyu prayeshu rajasu janita vishnu yasaso namna khalkir jagatpatihi. The junction of the two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as Kalki, as the Kalki incarnation, and become the son of Vishnu Yasa. At this time, almost all the rulers of the earth would have degenerated into plunderers. So this is the incarnation of Kalki. Kalki is to come at the junction of Kali and the beginning of the next cycle of yugas, which is beginning with the Satya Yuga. It is the next cycle. So we are right at the beginning of Kali because we are only into 5,000 years of Kali. Right now, we are into 5,000 years of Kali, and Kali is supposed to be 432,000 years. So you can imagine 432,000, we are just at 5,000. We're talking about an incarnation who is going to arrive 432,000 years hence. And that is when the next Yuga cycle is going to begin. 26. Avatarahi asankyeya hare sattvanide dvijaha yata vidasinaha kulyaha sarasaha shu sahasrasaha. O Brahmanas, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing from inexhaustible sources of water. They are innumerable. They are immovable. It is said that Srimad Bhagavatam being recorded in different universes sometimes have different versions of accounts of the incarnations of the Lord. So there are different versions which glorify certain other incarnations of the Lord in different universes. In since they include more chapters, they include more information, it's more detailed in some other universe while we speak as well. It is said that Srimad Bhagavatam is also quite different depending on the universe, where it can be more elaborate. 27. Rishio Manavo Deva Manuputraha Mahausjasaha Kalaha Sarva Harereva Saprajapatayaha Smritaha. All the rishis, manus, demigods, and descendants of Manu who are especially powerful are plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. This also includes the Prajapatis. Text 28. This is the Paribhasha Sutra. This is basically the conclusion of establishing Kṛṣṇa as the summum bonum, establishing Kṛṣṇa as the origin. Ete chamshah kala pumshah Kṛṣṇastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Kṛṣṇa is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. When he says protecting the theists, what exactly do we mean? We can understand the aspect of incarnation to eliminate the atheists. What does he mean when he says he's going to protect the theists? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatuskrita. What does paritranaya sadhunam exactly mean? What exactly is that? How do you protect the theists?
Is it, Prabhu, by establishing the Dharma again?
Okay, but that is also being done by others, isn't it? Eliminating those who are preventing the forward movement. Why would Kṛṣṇa basically appears, even Lord Narasimhadev, for example, established Dharma. Vamanadev, the specific mantra for Lord Vamana given in the Rig Veda is Trinipada Vichakrame Vishnur Gopadabhya Ato Dharmani Dharayan. This is basically Trinipada Vichakrame. He took 3 steps to establish Dharma. Lord Vamana established Dharma, it is said. Lord Rama established Dharma. He practically was Maryada Purushottam. He practically established the very essence of Dharma. And he demonstrated how to practice Dharma under most stringent, very, very taxing circumstances. Now, why is it being mentioned here that the Lord incarnates to protect the theists? How does one protect the theists, is my question. Basically, protection of the theists is for them to transcend. Janma karma chame divyam. He is basically arriving so that he could establish relationships. He is displaying his wonderful 2-arm form as a human being. He's interacting here in Braj, and he's establishing an opportunity for all the theistic personalities to be attracted by him. He's Kṛṣṇa. The Akarshana Shakti, the ability to attract of Kṛṣṇa is far greater than anybody can even think of. So the point is, he's coming here to attract souls to him. He shows all his opulences in full, all. He is not just displaying one aspect or another. He is displaying all aspects of his opulences. He displays knowledge. He speaks the Bhagavad Gita. He is the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. He displays knowledge. He displays enormous power. Can you give me an example of power? Lord Kurma displays power. When he incarnates as the tortoise incarnation, he is on the ocean. He is keeping an enormous mountain on his back, and he's allowing the churning of this mountain. So you can just imagine just holding the mountain and being afloat on water. It requires enormous display of power and endurance. So this is basically Lord Kurma. So Kṛṣṇa displays power as well as Giriraj, isn't it? He lifts Govardhan. He displays this unusual pastime of helping the Vrindavan Vasis go under his shelter. It is the I would say the most profound of pastimes of Kṛṣṇa is Govardhan Leela, most profound. And Govardhan Leela is also most sacred, most confidential. And the reason it's confidential is because you have all kinds of confidential activities occurring in the Govardhan area. Radhakund, you have so many different pastimes of Srimati Radharani and Kṛṣṇa, which are being supported by Govardhan in so many different ways. It is the most confidential aspect of Kṛṣṇa is Govardhan. Kṛṣṇa lifts up this Govardhan hill and he also helps the Vrajvasis. So basically, he's giving us a message that you have to trust him. He's a 7-year-old boy. He's lifting up a huge mountain with his little pinky of the left hand, and you should trust him enough to come under his shelter and stay with him for 7 nights and 7 days. It's quite unusual. It's quite unusual. Yeah, you have to trust him. Who would look at a 7-year-old boy lifting up a mountain with his little pinky and want to walk under the mountain and be with him? The entire Vrajavasi group did it. They all completely left everything. They were so astonished and they were so attracted by this extraordinary sight. They just walked under Govardhan and stood with Kṛṣṇa for 7 nights and 7 days, which is very extraordinary. This is basically the objective of every devotee. We all want to be able to completely take shelter of Kṛṣṇa, completely, like the Vrajavasis did. Like the Vrindavan Vasis did, we want to take complete shelter of Kṛṣṇa. Complete shelter, where we are completely dependent on his protection. We have no other source of protection. We will accept any condition that he imposes upon us. If he's going to lift up a mountain with his little pinky and he wants us to walk under the mountain and stay there, then we are ready for that experience. This is the expectation. This is the expectation of Kṛṣṇa in Vraj. This is it. This is the ultimate Leela. So here in Vraja Leela, he is displaying extraordinary power. He is displaying this extraordinary power, but it is one of the sweetest Leelas. Sweetest Leelas. You can just imagine that. Imagine. And no one believes he is God, which is even worse. No one under the mountain believes this is God. If someone were to have an inclination, this is God, it is fine. The Asuras and the Devas who were churning the Mandarachala mountain during Kurma avatar understood that the Lord had become the tortoise which was supporting the mountain. They were not afraid. They were understood that the Lord was sitting on top of the mountain and holding it. They understood that he was beneath and he was giving support. The Vrajavasis did not even have an iota of belief that their Kṛṣṇa was God. They were so much enthralled in love with him that they did not mind walking under the mountain with the 7-year-old boy who lifted the mountain with his little pinky. Yeah. So this is quite unusual. So this is the ultimate realization of the 10th canto, where one forgets he is God. One has the ability to forget he is God. How does this happen? It happens because the sweetness of Kṛṣṇa Leela, the sweetness of Vraj, will overpower the opulence of the previous 9 cantos. The previous 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam contain Aishwarya Leela. It contains aspects of power, it contains aspects of knowledge, it contains aspects of his opulence of wealth. Here, you go and you dress Kṛṣṇa with leaves, with tulsi leaves, you dress him with those, the Gunjamala, which is not considered precious. And that is more satisfying to this Kṛṣṇa than buying the best of necklaces and pearls and keeping him in a certain way. He is more satisfied with the stuff which is available in the forest of Vrindavan. Now, this is exactly what it is. The sweetness of his Leela overpowers the remaining 9 cantos. When you enter the sweetness of Kṛṣṇa Leela and you fall in love with Kṛṣṇa, the sweetness overpowers our knowledge. We even forget we are dealing with God. This is Yogamaya's wonderful mercy. We forget we are dealing with God. We fall in love with him. This is what happened to the gopis and the gopas and all the residents of Vraja but they're so enamored, they were so much in love with him, they're even forgotten he's God. And now this person who is not even considered God is lifting a mountain. You go and stand under the mountain. It is said that they didn't mind. They said, if this little boy who is the object of our love, if this little boy who is everything for us, if he gets crushed by that mountain, we would also like to get crushed by the mountain. We don't want a life separate from him. So they all walked under the mountain, including the cows, the calves, all the animals. So this is beautiful. So this Govardhan Leela is different from the opulence of Kurmas lifting a mountain, because in Govardhan Leela, nobody believed this child was God. Nobody did. They were simply in love with him. So this is the purity of Vraja Bhakti. This is the actual aspect of Krishna's statement when he says, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. You need to understand me through Tattva. You need to understand me through the aspect of my absolute presence rather than my feature of being God. You need to fall in love with me, which is what he's saying, because if you don't fall in love with me, you can't really understand me fully. And Vrajvasis, they literally were in love with him, which is exactly what is being displayed by him. So he displayed knowledge, he displayed power, beauty. His beauty was so extraordinary. His beauty is so extraordinary. We should use the present, because we're talking about Bhauma Leela, which occurred 5,000 years back. We can say his beauty is extraordinary. His beauty is so extraordinary that he himself is bewildered. He himself is bewildered. Even he does not realize how beautiful he is. He can't figure out what is so attractive about me that my friends, my devotees, they are getting so overwhelmed by this beauty of mine. I need to know what is the nature of my beauty. There is also this aspect of his devotees. What is the nature of devotees of Krishna? Their nature is so different from the devotees of other incarnations. The devotees of Krishna are far more intense. They have an intensity which is far greater than anybody else. It is so intense in terms of the love. Lord Narayan stands before the gopis. They ask him, where is Krishna? Did you see him? They don't care for the four-armed form of the Lord. They don't care for the opulent form of the Lord. They want Krishna. They don't. Even Lord Balaram is not satisfied with anything. Even Lord Balaram is not satisfied. He is only satisfied with serving Krishna. Complete service to Krishna is the only source of satisfaction, even for the first expansion. What to say of others in Vraja Bhakti? So there's a specialty about Krishna. So there is this attraction. Even he can't comprehend his beauty. There's knowledge, and that knowledge we all are fully aware of in the Bhagavad Gita and other words. There's also great power, great strength, beauty, and then there's also renunciation. The aspect of renunciation is to be understood. The aspect of renunciation is to be understood. It is quite complex if you notice that, because Krishna, it is said when Uddhava, Krishna's relative from Dwaraka, when he visited Braj and he met Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, and he was talking about the Supreme Lord being the spiritual master, Supreme Lord being all renounced, Supreme Lord being completely, I would say, at an elevated position, then there is an argument which is being posed by them saying, my son is not renounced at all. My son, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they would argue back saying, my son is not renounced. He is hungry all the time. He steals. He lies. You can't attribute these saintly qualities to him. We are still very much in love with him. But he doesn't have any of those qualities because he's stealing. He lies. So basically the point which we're trying to make here is the point of renunciation is that Krishna has given us an opportunity. If you understand, Krishna makes a very intense statement in 15:15. In 15:15 of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, I will help you remember, I will also help you forget. This is renunciation. He says, if you want to forget me, I will give you all the means for you to forget me. It's an intense statement. It's frightening. Krishna is in the heart, and he's telling us that if you want to forget me, I will help you. If Krishna wants to help you, and Krishna helps you forget him, no one can help you remember. It is such an intense statement. So Krishna is quite pronounced about relationships as well. He's intensely in love with his devotees who are in love with him. That's why the rarity of Krishna Bhakti and falling in love with Krishna, developing Bhava Bhakti, developing Prema Bhakti is so rare, because Kṛṣṇa becomes subservient to those who are in love with him. He becomes completely subservient. He gives himself fully. But for others, he's saying, if you remember me, I will help you remember me further. If you want to forget me, I will help you forget. So this is also an aspect of Kṛṣṇa's renunciation. He says this in the Bhagavad Gita as well. He is basically very detached. He says, I am not going to be deterred by any of these activities. Kṛṣṇa's renunciation is also seen because a fragment of the fragment of the fragment supports this entire creation, but he has nothing to do with it. He has nothing to do with it. He does not get affected at all. So then we also talked the previous sessions about Kṛṣṇa having qualities which are greater than Mahavishnu, Mahavishnu having qualities that are greater than Lord Shiva having qualities that are greater than Jiva. So this is again established in this particular verse, that Kṛṣṇa is special. He plays the flute, he has extraordinary devotees, his pastimes are extraordinary. Yeah. So basically all of these attributes are being shown here in this particular verse, where they're establishing this particular aspect of Kṛṣṇa being the origin of everybody else, every other avatar, because every other avatar is somewhat limited in certain ways. If they are not limited in certain ways, there is formality in interaction. In this particular situation with Kṛṣṇa, that formality of even him being God is removed. One gets to intensely love him and he loves back. So this aspect of Godhead is what is the subject matter of Bhagavatam. And this is the reason why, in terms of being able to give the greatest and the deepest relationships, Kṛṣṇa basically is the origin of every other incarnation. He is the origin of every other incarnation. In the previous session, we spoke of this. Kṛṣṇa expands into Balaram. Balaram expands into Vasudev, Sankarshan, Anirudh, Pradyumna. Sankarshan from the second expansion goes again and expands into Vasudev, Sankarshan, Anirudh, Pradyumna. So we have Mula Sankarshana, who is in Dwaraka, and then you have Mahasankarshana. From Mahasankarshana, you have the three different Purusha incarnations. Karanodakashai Vishnu. You have Garbhodakashai Vishnu, and then you have Kshirodakashai Vishnu. And then you have the Guna avatars, who are Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, which is Kshirodakashai Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. Their origin is from Garbhodakashai Vishnu. And then we have all the incarnations starting from the Kshirodakashai Vishnu incarnation, or the expansion of Kṛṣṇa. So Kṛṣṇa otherwise is basically very busy, busy with his pastimes in Vraja. So what we will do is that I have touched upon the remaining verses in different ways. I'll stop here and I'll take questions. And then what we will do is we will move on to the next chapter, because I have principally touched upon these discussions in different ways throughout our four different, I would say, when we came in touch with the third chapter for 4 sessions. So I'll stop here and I'll see if you have any questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Yes, you know, the avatar numberings, like in the 10 avatars, 10 avatars, and the avatar numbers now that we've been reading, they seem to differ. Is the incarnations are the same? Like Kurma is number 2 in the 10th 10 avatar, and he's number 11 on what we read today. Can you explain?
Sure. The 10 avatars of the Lord, the Dasavatar manifestation, basically talk about the most prominent features of the Lord. And as a consequence, the 10 avatars are being delineated. In that order, there is Matsya, there is Kurma, there is Varaha, and that is how the order progresses. But here, what you are seeing here is that they are touching upon a completely different list, which includes these 10, but not necessarily in the same order. Yeah. So there are 2 different parts to it, 2 different aspects to it.
All right.
So it's not contradictory. It is simply the 10 Dasavatar is basically a delineation of the most prominent qualities of the Lord, and those Dasavatars basically are the most prominent aspects of the Lord. But then you also have a lot more detail which is being given here, and whilst giving that detail, the order changes. That's all.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol?
Just a quick question. So, you mentioned Krishna likes to be offered or worshipped with things you find in the, Vrindavan forest. So that's one thing. Then, but on the other hand, I think it's a nectar of devotion says it's an offense to not worship the deity according to one's own needs. So, things from the forest aren't necessarily very expensive. So how do you balance the two?
Well, fundamentally, what we are talking about is understanding the worship of the deity according to vidhi, which is basically rules and regulations, which is what you're referring to. And then understanding the deity when you are in Vrindavan as per his desires, where all these rules and regulations don't matter, and there is attraction and there's great love between the devotee and the devoted. Yeah. So there's a difference between the two. So your statement about nectar of devotion, talking about worshipping with one's own means, kind of having more established practice, has more to do with not neglecting the deity and basically following the principle of Vaidhi Bhakti, or worship through rules and regulations.
Okay,
Yeah?
thank you.
There are two different things. Yeah, two different things.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Ravindra Babu here.
Can you speak up a little bit, Prabhu? Whoever it is, sorry.
Yeah, this is Ravindra Babu, Prabhu. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Yeah. One doubt I have, Prabhu, regarding the God's incarnations having parents, and Lord is having, in that particular incarnation, having wives and children, all these. See, Bhudevi is considered as Lord's wife, right? In one of the incarnations, Bhudevi, Sridevi. So, and Sita Mata is a daughter of Bhudevi, and then Rama accepts her as a wife. Then how does that work? Like, as a relation, she will be like his own daughter, right? If Bhudevi is...
Well, basically, yeah. Mother Sita was the daughter of Vasundhara, which basically the idea is she is the daughter of the goddess of earth. Do you understand? Bhumi. So Bhu, on the other hand, is Tattva. Do you understand? Bhu, Shri, Nila are different aspects of Tattva. Bhu is the potency of creation. Shri is the potency of maintenance. Nila is the potency of knowledge, which is also basically, which comes after this creation ends. Do you understand? So what is being referred to as Bhudevi doesn't mean the personality of Bhudevi as in being the goddess of earth. Do you understand? There's a difference between the two.
Okay. So when Bhudevi is said as wife of Lord Vishnu, then is that the same as Bhu as Tattva you're saying, bro? I'm not very sure.
Basically, yeah. What I'm trying to tell you is that Vasundhara, the goddess of earth, and Bhudevi are two different personalities. That's the point I'm trying to make. Even though Bhu means earth in certain ways because it's Bhumi, it's two different things. Bhu has to do with creation. The creative potency of the Lord has to do with Bhu. Yeah, Bhu is basically creative potency.
Okay, whereas Vasundhara is the mother of Sita Devi.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, bro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Mother Sita is basically, she is, because of Lord Ram being 100% in sense, he's an incarnation of the Lord. He was not, empowered or anything like that. He was 100%. The Lord was Lord's incarnation. Mother Sita, I would say, is also, and she's the origin of different types of potencies of the Lord. Like Srimati Radharani, she holds a very high position in the hierarchy of Shakti. We shouldn't really think that she only has the potency of Bhudevi or something like You
Okay.
understand? So she is at a much higher level in terms of her manifestation.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare
Sure.
Krishna Prabhu. You mentioned about Bhudevi and Sri Devi, but what is the third one?
Neela.
Neela. Can you please explain about that?
Yeah, Neela basically is the potency that is normally associated with Lord Kṛṣṇa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't heard about much about Neela. Good.
Yeah. Basically, there is Neela Shuktam. There are so many different. This is also a potency of the Lord. Lord Kṛṣṇa, whenever the Lord appears to basically, when he picks up a weapon and he is on the battlefield, that is Neela.
Oh.
The Shakti who is within him is Neela.
Also, the Sakti potency is Neela.
Yeah. It's very different in the sense that what happens is based on the activity, the Shakti is different, the personality is different. So the point which I'm trying to make is this is a little bit of a deeper aspect of the science. But to understand this, you can say that primarily it is Neela, Bhu, and Shri. Three different potencies of the Lord.
Thank you. Also, Prabhu, there is one more question. When
Yes,
you were
please.
explaining about Dhanvantari avatar and, when the Rahu and Ketu was killed, their head was, they were beheaded.
Yeah, it
And
was just one person. It was Rahu. And Rahu became Rahu and Ketu after the beheading.
oh, is it? I thought
Yeah.
it was two personalities. Oh, there was only
No,
one.
it is one person. Yeah. One person whose head gets one person whose head basically is called Rahu and the body is called Ketu.
Oh, okay. And then
Yeah.
also, it says that the blood fell on the earth and it becomes onion, and his bone touched to the earth that become garlic. Is that true?
Well, basically, it is true in the sense that Rahu primarily is the demonic energy that will prevent us from chanting our mantras and being able to make progress. Okay, this is basically the demonic energy. So that demonic energy is present in onion and garlic, 100%. So when one accepts and eats food which has onion and garlic, while you have food which is touched by onion and garlic in the body specifically, then you also activate the presence of Rahu, and as a consequence, devotional service becomes difficult. There's a direct influence. There's a subtle science behind it. There is a subtle science behind understanding how Rahu get activated. So because these are personalities, demoniac qualities also have personalities. They can come on to us when we present a situation which is very conducive. So when we have eating habits or when we have activities which closely conform to their nature, they can become more active in us than more divine qualities. So the onion and garlic part is absolutely true that when we come in touch with onion and garlic, we are activating this demonic propensity of duplicity and cleverness. If you notice in the Leela of Mohini Avatar in the 8th canto, there's a lot of duplicity, there's a lot of cleverness displayed by this demon. He goes and sits inside. He pretends as if he's a deva. He can transform himself. Inside, he would have an objective. Externally, he will pose as something else. All these duplicitous qualities start increasing with that kind of food. That's why it's not allowed. It's considered. It spoils, basically, if you want a straight answer, it spoils the ability to chant mantras. It's very simple. You can't chant. It's very difficult to chant.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Haribol?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question regarding the beads because I haven't got Tulsi Mala because I'm not initiated. And like one of the devotees said, you can't get yourself unless, the Guru gives you. Is that right?
I'm not sure exactly about that, because you can chant on Tulsi beads.
Right.
You understand? You can.
Yes. Thank you.
But
Sorry.
Yeah, you can chant on Tulsi beads regardless of whether you're initiated or not initiated, because certain mantras work better with Tulsi beads. But one thing for us to remember, Tulsi beads are very sensitive. That's why you have to carefully protect your beads by keeping them in a bag, protecting them, keeping them in a place where they don't get contaminated. Don't touch them if you've touched your mouth, touched your nose, because they very quickly get contaminated. Tulsi beads.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the point
Thank
I'm
you.
trying to make here is not so much of a concern about being initiated or not initiated. Everybody has to follow the principle of protecting and keeping those beads carefully. I don't believe there's any restriction whatsoever, in my opinion. There isn't.
Thank you so much. Yeah. But also another thing, because I'd been using my deceased dad's, it was actually Rudraksh Mala. So is that an offense? Because I thought, because my dad, although he wasn't a Krishna devotee, but I didn't know at that point. And all I took was, Tulsi Mala from dad, because I thought, I want to take bhakti. I want to learn from my father. So I had been actually using those, but then I have stopped now for the last 3-4 weeks. So I'm just chanting without beads. So was that an offense?
You mean using the Rudraksha to chant the Harinam?
Yes, yeah.
I wouldn't really say it's an offense. You see, the Rudraksha basically is not generally used for chanting mantras that are associated with Krishna and Vishnu, because you are seeking the help of a devotee, and that's the reason why you're taking Tulsi Mala. You understand? When you come in touch with Tulsi, Mother Tulsi is a devotee, and with her mercy, it is easier. So in that sense, we are restricted to using Tulsi Malas. Tulsi Mala is considered to be superlative in its particular use. But if you found a set of beads which you use for chanting Harinam, I'm not going to say it was an offense. You see, I'll tell you this particular story. There were devotees in Russia in the early days who were put into prison for distributing Bhagavad Gita. And what they did was, they did not have any beads, they did not have the source of any kind of mala or anything. They basically used to receive a quota of bread every day. They used to roll the bread into beads, and they used to use that as beads so that they could count and chant. Okay? The point I'm trying to make is, I'm trying to make a point saying the chanting part and sincere chanting is more important, but following certain principles that are being given to chant a mantra are also very important for conduciveness. So in that sense, Tulsi Mala is most important, because Tulsi Maharani is a devotee.
Yes, I understand. The principles are important, but like you said, the bhav, because that's exactly how I saw, when I'm doing it with pure devotion, but then at the same time, we do need to follow the principles. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Padmavati Nitai Mata. Just a question came to my mind while this Mataji was asking about the beads. Is it really necessary? This is my understanding, that at least you should follow 4 regulative principles correctly to chant on Tulsi beads. Is it correct, Prabhu?
See, I would say the way I'm looking at it is, before you start chanting, there is one aspect that we have to understand, is that Lord Chaitanya has given us the ability to make advancement based on coming in touch with Harinam. So coming in touch with Harinam and chanting is the process where Krishna would start giving intelligence to us to make improvements. So if someone comes in touch with Harinam and they want to chant and they acquire a Tulsi Mala, for example, and they start chanting sincerely, wanting to make advancement, but they're still making mistakes, they're still having certain attractions and distractions, then what I'm saying is they're still following the process of getting purified. You can follow these rules and regulations, and you can say that chanting on maybe a wooden mala is better, and maybe chanting on a neem mala is also fine. You could do that. All of that is fine. But what I'm trying to say is the essence is to be able to chant. And if someone is sincerely chanting but they're still struggling, I wouldn't really go after them because they're chanting on a Tulsi Mala. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, very simply put, because there is progression. There is progression, and perhaps those with rule books would throw their rule books at me, but I'm just looking at it purely from the purpose of people wanting to make advancement. They're sincere. They're struggling with whatever they have, and they somehow are chanting and they've acquired a Tulsi Mala. I wouldn't really go there and discourage them from doing it. I would say, do it. You see, I would just want to give you an example of how the thinking process is. There is a devotee whom I meet in Vrindavan, in our temple, every day. And this gentleman, he's quite old. He comes at 4:30 in the morning and he goes back at 8 in the evening. He only interrupts his japa for eating breakfast, lunch. And whenever I meet him, he tells me this. He says, this is my schedule. I have a cup of tea in the morning and I have a cup of tea in the night. In between, I have breakfast and I have lunch. I don't have dinner. Other than that, I'm just chanting Harinam sitting near Prabhupada. I see him every day, practically.
Okay.
I did not even have the heart to tell him to stop his tea, because I knew that Kṛṣṇa and Prabhupada will guide him to somehow or the other give that up. If someone can sit here, and I've seen this over years, not a day or two, I'm seeing him for years. If someone can sit here and chant, and they have some habit which is basically a part of their anartha, but if they can chant from morning to night, I'm sure they've received mercy from Gauranga.
That's right.
And what I'm trying to say is, when I meet such people, I try and tend to encourage them to do what they're doing even more than telling them to stop something which, in sense, basically could cause certain disturbance in their minds. So I'm wanting that approach. That approach is much better. Lord Nityananda, because you're named after Lord Nityananda, aren't you, Mataji?
Yes. Okay.
So Lord Nityananda used to fall on people's feet, just wanting them to chant. So basically, that was the kind of mercy which was bestowed upon him. So the point I'm trying to make is, perhaps we need to have some judgment as well when we are approaching devotees or chanting. We want to encourage them to the fullest. We also want to ensure that they don't run away because we are asking them to stop something which they can't stop prematurely. But we encourage them slowly, steadily, indirectly, encourage them to come and be a part of Sangha, and slowly, steadily, they would give up all this nonsense and become fixed. So I was just wanting to say that, in my opinion, I tend to focus more on the positive. So
That is
it's easier.
why I asked that, Prabhu. I remember long ago, even I was following all regulatory principles correctly, but still, when the first devotee gave me only neem beads, and I was chanting neem beads, I think years and years. So this came to my heart,
No,
that's
which
why
is fine, actually. Neem beads are very special, because neem beads, Lord Chaitanya is associated with neem. Lord Chaitanya is associated with the neem tree. So neem also has a lot of agni. Neem is very special. So the point which I'm trying to make is that there is always an ideal way to do things.
Okay.
But then intrinsically, we need to observe and see if people are following certain steps as they go higher, and to encourage them at every step is our business. And we need to be very patient so that they give up what they need to give up, so that they can become fully clear. I was just wanting to make a statement on that. That's all. It does not mean I'm promoting drinking tea. I just want to be clear. No, I'm not promoting that, because people will assume that I'm promoting this and I'm promoting that. I'm not promoting that. I'm merely saying that sometimes you have to overlook certain obvious issues which can be seen by us, and look at the big picture and encourage the devotee, because that's what is required.
Because that's a way of inspiring them.
Exactly. We just want to encourage them so that they continue doing. At the same time, they will find out, just as we all did, on what is right and what is wrong in certain times.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, it's Shafi. Prabhuji, one question. One question regarding the same line. Someone told that chanting Harinam is like walking on a sword, and if we are chanting on Tulsi beads, we should be 100% attentive chanting. If we do inattentive chanting on Tulsi beads, it yields another anarthas.
Basically, inattentive chanting inattentive chanting in itself is a problem that we need to work on, and we need to be able to develop out of, because inattentive chanting itself is a part of it. So what I'm saying is inattentive chanting is basically due to the offenses that are committed to other devotees. This is exactly how inattentive chanting also occurs. We can't concentrate because the mercy that we receive in our heart is being taken away. So what I'm trying to get across, perhaps I need to elaborate a little bit so that we don't get confused. There are many rules and regulations in Shastra about chanting. But at the same time, in the present day, if someone is chanting, regardless of what beads they use, we want to encourage them. Vishnu mantras are very powerful when they are chanted on Tulsi beads, which is a Shastric conclusion. So perhaps what we could do is educate them about the potency of Tulsi Mata, potency of Tulsi Devi, and so on, and encourage devotees to chant more carefully. But we don't want to chase them away or frighten them by saying that since you're not where you're supposed to be, chanting and coming in touch with Tulsi itself could cause problems for you. I don't think I want to do that. Yeah, I'm just wanting to be clear that I think there's a certain discretion which is required as preachers. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada at some point in time, he just wanted us to encourage people to offer everything we eat to Kṛṣṇa. Even if someone were to be eating meat, if they offer to Kṛṣṇa before they eat, for example, then that in turn would allow Kṛṣṇa to dictate to them saying, oh, you want to serve, but you don't know how to serve. So let me help you understand how to serve. So if someone is eating onion and garlic, we encourage them, okay, you can't give that up and you don't want to give that up. At least get into the mood of offering so that you will at least know that you're connected to Kṛṣṇa and you want to serve him. The moment someone starts wanting to serve Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa in the heart will start educating them on what he likes and what he doesn't like. He will start telling them, I don't like this, I like this. That education would also start coming. So what I'm trying to say is that I think we need to focus more on devotional culture, and the rules and regulations are improvements and refinements as we go along. When we start operating on devotional culture, it will allow us to grow much faster. When we purely base it on rules and regulations, and there is a lack of understanding of where a person is, sometimes you tell someone something, they would stop coming. Yeah, so it's better for you to have that judgment of encouraging the positivity rather than imposing rules and regulations to such an extent that they run away from us. So it's a matter of judgment. So I'm just wanting to emphasize that part, saying encourage as much as you can, and people slowly, steadily are getting purified when they come in touch with Nama. Encourage them to do things correctly, give them information. At the same time, don't discourage them from doing something if their intentions are right. It's all about intentions as well. So that is the point I'm trying to convey. That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for clarifying all that. But I just wanted to, bring something to your attention. But I didn't feel it was appropriate. But I think I will share with you today. We've been trying to connect with Krishna consciousness for the last 3-4 years, and we didn't felt like we were encouraged. And from last year, Sunday Sangha started. My husband and my son, they regularly go, but it's a bit, disheartening to say, nobody actually encourages them to do anything, or nobody's bothered to ask how you're doing. And I started going, but I felt the same way. I say Hare Krishna to everybody, Hare Bol, but nobody actually approaches my family. And I have, shown the keen desire to cook as well. And I do cook whenever I'm asked, at least once a month. And I regard, I'm sure it is an offense, when you're not even encouraging other devotees or the newcomers to join. And it's not that we're just going because we are keen to join. And so I just do my chanting at home, but like at least one devotee, she welcomes us. So they always invite us when they have program at their house. So it's very nice, to know the offenses, but then we do need to act on them as well. So, but I promise you, when I get the Tulsi beads, I will make sure that I don't commit any offense, and I will do it, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, we wish you the very best in your endeavor and your devotional service as well. And thank you for sharing, because
No, but
feedback is very important.
yes,
Feedback
because
is
I
very
think,
important.
yeah, I wanted to speak to you because I thought personally I'll speak to you, but then I thought I don't know when it will happen. So yeah, so I thought
No,
it
it's
is
perfectly
important.
fine, because I think devotees are very open-minded. Devotees are very much of wanting to improve and wanting to
Yeah,
improve their interactions.
yeah,
And I think it's important for you to speak out if you have these. I would say if you have such feelings in terms of observations, I would call them, and it is
yeah. I was
important so
waiting,
that people
when you
can.
come to England, but then
Yeah,
I thought,
no, people basically, no, don't wait. I
yeah,
think there are, in the Sangha that you attend, there are many, many devotees who are very eager to assist. Perhaps they are a little too tied up with what they are trying to do, to the point where I think they're a little bit overwhelmed in just getting things done at that point in
no,
time.
I understand. When you're working
Yeah,
full
no,
time
what
and
I'm
then
saying
you're doing,
is,
yeah,
feel free to approach. Feel free to approach and feel free to share your thoughts.
yeah,
Communication is most important. So
yeah,
do bring all of this up.
yeah.
Yeah, and you are very welcome to speak your heart out. Yeah,
No, but I did think, like when I go to Sunday Sangha, because most of the time I'm busy on Sunday, but I do cook and send it with my son and my husband. But I did think, I will go and I will say, how I feel, because we do want to progress and we don't feel
sure.
like we're getting any help. So it's like I'm running off. Yeah, I know, when you're thirsty, you have to find the well, you have to find the tap.
No,
So
no, not
that's,
necessarily. I
yeah,
think you're doing the right thing. You are raising your hand and saying, "I need help," which in
yeah,
itself is a fantastic sign of progress, because it takes a lot for people to ask for help, to recognize that you have something wonderful happening to you, and you want to make progress, and you're raising your hand saying, "I need help."
yeah,
This is fantastic. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it's very nice. I think you should. It's very nice of you to bring this up, because the devotees would be able to assist you and be able to kind of look for more people such as yourself who need certain structured help. It will help them immensely. So it's good for you to share this feedback.
thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Krishna Vanimataji. Prabhuji,
Hi, Krishna.
you mentioned about onion garlic. So even some of my families, they do eat onion and garlic. So do you mean I can encourage them to offer whatever they're eating? Because
Yes.
before I was saying, except onion, whatever you cooked with onion garlic, don't offer, and offer other things. But is it okay? They can offer everything.
Basically, bring the culture of service into their hearts,
Okay.
because Krishna is in their hearts as well.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't stop their habits, encourage them to serve, because once they start serving, the culture of service begins. They would automatically receive inspiration from within, because Krishna in their hearts will start looking and saying, "You want to come to me, I'm going to make arrangements." So they would slowly, steadily get inspired, and they will make advancement. The point I'm trying to make is we have to be very strategic in our thinking. We can't be so narrow and rule bound in approaching devotees and giving mercy to them in terms of the souls. We have to be very strategic. So the idea is, what is it which is going to get them help? Number one, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Sevon Mukhehi Jihvadav. Encourage them to come for kirtan, encourage them to have Krishna Prasadam. When you're cooking Krishna Prasadam, pay great deal of attention, because the amount of attention which is being paid to cooking and offering is the extent of potency that's going to be available for devotees who are going to come in touch with that prasadam. So pay a lot of attention to it, cook with devotion. So the point is, we strategize in such a way that we bring people closer and closer to Krishna, so that this way they would have an opportunity for Krishna to interact with them. So we encourage them to come. We encourage them by giving them small amounts of service. When we give them small amounts of service, they will fulfill the condition of Srila Rupa Goswami, where they have using their limbs for serving Krishna. If someone starts using their limbs for serving Krishna, Krishna will encourage them. See, when we read about Putana, Putana smeared her breasts with poison and tried to suckle Krishna. Krishna gave her a place as one of his mothers. So the point is, her external action was as a mother. Internally, she had different intentions. But because even externally, she pretended to be his mother, he gave such a lofty position to her, like Mother Yashoda. So this point I'm trying to make is, Krishna is extraordinarily merciful in that way. And since we are in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, Lord Chaitanya is most merciful. Encourage people to come closer by opening up doors, whilst we remind them that this is how Kṛṣṇa really prefers to eat. It is more important for people to at least start acknowledging Kṛṣṇa as a person, start serving him. Because the moment they start doing that, all kinds of opportunities will come before them.
So we can also mention that, okay, Krishna, you offer whatever, but usually he does not,
Exactly. You should give knowledge. We should not withhold knowledge.
Yeah.
We do not want to withhold knowledge. We want to tell them that this is what he prefers. Everybody has a preference, and this is his preference. And we also want to encourage them. But regardless, at the very basic, offer what you eat. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Any other question or comment?
Yeah, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, question on inattentive chanting. Right now in my schedule, it's not possible. I mean, not every time, but mind goes here and there, and some days are very, very busy, and it is difficult to finish rounds. And I really do inattentive chanting just to finish round. So is that an offense?
See, here's the situation. Inattentive chanting occurs because we are in the lower modes. If you're in the mode of goodness, attention is better. If you're in the mode of passion, the mind is traveling at breakneck speed all over the place and we can't concentrate. So the first principle that we need to do is try and see how we can improve our consciousness by upgrading it, by following principles of morning program, etc., which Prabhupada has given us. That in turn would allow us to be in a proper, I would say, consciousness, and that in turn would allow for a more attentive chanting. That's the first principle. The second principle is, the question that you're asking is, I want to finish my 16 rounds. Because I'm so inattentive, I can't finish it in the time frame that is normal. It gets extended, and I hurry through it, and I finish it. And when I do finish it, it's a drudgery. I drag through it. I'm adding words to your statement. Basically, the point is, if you ask me, I would follow the principle of completing 16 rounds because there's a certain value in maintaining the rounds and then working on the improvement. If you have not started at all chanting, and if you are trying to contemplate on the first round of chanting, I would say work on the first round. Don't take on the second round until you really feel like doing it. But if you're in 16 rounds, maintaining the principle of 16 rounds and chanting and trying to improve on it while you maintain the number of rounds is more important. That would be my answer. Have you taken vows in terms of during Gaur Purnima?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Then maintaining that vow is more important than anything else.
Fine, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
No problem at all.
Sorry,
Anything
Prabhuji.
else?
Sorry.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, 16 rounds. And what I prefer is to do like sitting down, because I find like that is more effective rather than walking around, or like I see some people even doing rounds when they're driving, and so do they still count? Because is that not inattentive when we're like walking around and doing other activities?
See, here's the situation, and we have to be very careful in understanding this. The more energy you put into any activity, the results would be better. So if you have a bath, if you are going to do some kind of worship of the Lord, if there is Guru Puja which is being done, and you are seated in a comfortable place, you sit in the same place every day, you wake up at the same time, do the same set of activities before that, then it's easy to control the mind, and you're able to sit and you're able to do it nicely. If you do your rounds randomly, saying, let me do it while I'm trying to drive, let me do it while I'm walking, let me do it when I'm doing something else, then what happens is the mind can't be controlled. It is not into the habit of sitting down and doing things on a regular basis without fail. Does it make sense? The
Mm.
mind requires a discipline.
Yeah.
That discipline comes from waking up at a certain time, sitting in the same place, sitting on the same cushion. If you're used to facing the wall, face the wall, face the deities. Do the activities that you need to do before chanting exactly. If you do the same activities day in and day out, when you sit on the cushion, the mind knows that you're going to chant and it will disturb you less. It will be less disturbing. On the other hand, if we have no schedule when we are chanting, then the mind has a field day, it can disturb us quite a lot. So that's the disadvantage. But it is better than not chanting.
Right. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, because I'm trying to do sit down chanting, but the only thing is like I'm suffering from lots of like aches and pains, like arthritis.
Sure.
So then sometimes I have to get up and then I do like one round walking around, then I'll sit down again.
That's
So
fine.
that's okay.
Yeah, that is perfectly fine. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Haribol Prabhuji, it means that it is better, inattentive chanting is better than not chanting.
Certainly.
But when we say we are doing inattentive chanting, we are accumulating more offenses. So it goes both ways.
The only way to come out of offenses is through the mercy of Nam. So only Nama can bring us out of offenses. Vaishnavas and Namas. Nama is more merciful. Yeah. So as a consequence, Nama is the most merciful. It has no rules, no regulations. So we take shelter of Nam so that we get purified and we're able to move out of our circumstances. So it's better to take shelter of Nam, thinking it is false to start thinking that I will do something else which is going to make me pure so that I can sit and start chanting Nam. It is not required to think like that. Nam can purify us. So focus on Nam, get it done as much as you can, and you will steadily, slowly see progress.
So it means, you mean to say that even inattentive chanting will help us to do attentive chanting one day? So
Exactly. Is the intention, if the intention is such that you want to do it and you're wanting to pay the price and you're struggling and you're begging for mercy and so on, at some day when you're inattentive the inattentive chanting will become pure chanting. Yes, of course. It's better to keep in touch than not be in touch. Because our only means of purification is Nam. So if you give that up, how are you going to get purified?
okay, then why do people say that, sometimes there is one Prabhu in temple, if I and he lived near close by to our house also, if he see me chanting while driving or in temple at prasadam, I'm holding this, he always say, no, you are doing offenses, you should not chant, and that is really going in my mind. And
yeah, see, basically what I would suggest is you don't chant while you're driving, because you can't concentrate on driving, neither can you concentrate on chanting. Yeah, it's better you concentrate on driving. Chant without beads. It's perfectly fine. Chant without beads while you're driving, but then don't chant with beads. There are more accidents that happen with devotees holding beads and driving than less. So don't do it. But other than that, I just don't have anything else to say about active versus non. Because I think you should. These are stages, and as long as the intention is there, and we make improvements slowly, steadily, at least we should maintain our vows. It's important.
Fine, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anything else? Okay, so if there isn't anything else, then we would conclude. This was a chapter which we have done over the last 4 weeks, and the attempt is for us to understand that Bhagavatam has to be approached as one of the pillars of what is going to allow us to come in touch with Krishna's divine nature and understand his transcendental pastimes. And it accompanies those who have faith. It accompanies in the sense that you come in touch with sadhu, you are chanting the holy names, and you're also engaging in the reading of Bhagavatam. This is one of the most important pillars. So there are 5 principles. This is the 3rd principle. the fourth being in touch with Vrindavan, the fifth being in touch with the deity of the Lord. So these are 5 main principles. So the point which we want to make here is that coming in touch with Kṛṣṇa through Bhagavatam is coming in touch with Kṛṣṇa directly. Coming in touch with Kṛṣṇa through those who inspire us is coming in touch with Kṛṣṇa directly. Coming in touch with Kṛṣṇa through Nam is coming in touch with Kṛṣṇa directly. When we keep coming in touch with Kṛṣṇa regularly on a periodic basis, then we have the ability to slowly, steadily break out of the bondage of many, many millions of lifetimes. So all we need to do is simply adhere to this simple program of coming in touch with Kṛṣṇa steadily. And this in turn would allow us to move forward. Of all of the items to come in touch with Kṛṣṇa, the Srimad Bhagavatam basically has told us very clearly at the onset of Kali Yuga, at the beginning of Kali Yuga, Parikshit Maharaj heard Srimad Bhagavatam and went back to the spiritual sky. The Bhagavatam is telling us nothing else will work in Kali Yuga. Hear, Shravanam. You have to hear. And once you hear, the motivation would be there. So the point we are trying to make here is Srimad Bhagavatam is the means of conquest. It is the means of conquest. It is what motivates us to chant. It is what motivates us to associate. It is what motivates us to worship the deity and stay in Vrindavan. So this is the means of conquest. Because in Kali Yuga, liberation is going to occur through hearing, which is the reason why Nama, we are chanting and hearing, and also is the case with Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, again, is encouraging the chanting of the holy names in the beginning, middle, and end. So my suggestion is approach this very scientifically. Approach it as coming in touch with the person of Kṛṣṇa. Approach it as wanting to develop a relationship with Kṛṣṇa because this is Kṛṣṇa himself. When you approach the Srimad Bhagavatam prayerfully, every one of you have a copy at home, possibly. When you come in touch with copies of Bhagavatam, approach it prayerfully. It makes huge difference. That's my request. We'll meet again the following week. Kṛṣṇa would advise you on whether there is a class or there isn't a class. But I'm saying following week, meaning the next session. The next session, we're going into chapter 4 of the first canto. And this is when Sutta Goswami is going to begin speaking the Bhagavatam. Until now, there was a prelude. The foundation was laid. Now the Bhagavatam is going to be spoken. So we'll talk about it from next week onwards.
Prabhu, I have one question. Is it okay?
Yeah. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot to mention it before.
Sure. Please go ahead. I can't hear your question. I think you're on mute.
Okay. Yeah. There is a family wedding, especially today as well. There is a civil wedding. And we have some kind of confusion, and that, after the ceremony, they're going to meet in a restaurant which provides meat and everything. So actually we decided not to go ahead for the meal. We said we'll come and attend the wedding, but we won't take part in the taking food where they cook meat and everything. So what do you think, Prabhu? Is that a right decision, or?
I think it's perfectly appropriate. We don't need to dilute our stand. Okay. But at the same time, we will have to realize that the world has to come in touch with Kṛṣṇa consciousness through those who already have it. So in that sense, we don't want to cut ourselves out completely from our circles, so on, but we need to maintain our stand. We don't want to get contaminated by their engagement in any way. At the same time, we don't want to offend them to such an extent that they are not going to practically have anything to do with us. Yeah. So both of these, it is a little bit of a thinking process which is involved here. So since what I'm saying is, you give it a thought and be very polite. Don't mention to them that you're not coming because of this, because of that. I think it's best for you to simply say that we had other things to do and we had to move on. So does it make sense? I think it's better for you to be diplomatic while you don't go, because I wouldn't go if I were in your shoes, but I would be careful in telling them why I would not go. I would say I'm busy.
It's a family, and they know that we are Hare Krishna.
Then it is fine. Then it is even more easier since you already made a stand. Yeah, there is no need for us to compromise on anything which we do. Nothing at all. There is no need. We have to be extraordinarily strict with ourselves, but we have to be very liberal with others. This is the standard which Prabhupada gave us. Be very strict with ourselves. Internally, be very strict with what you do, but be very liberal with the way you look at the world. This is Lord Nityananda's mood.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think nobody else has a question, and we could end this session and we could begin again in the following session. So thank you very much for joining me, and we'll meet again the following week. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.